Welcome to Pay-to-Play report for Orcs Must Die. Orcs Must Die is a tower defense game where the player actually takes an active participation in the combat and kills pretty much the enemies, well, which are orcs in this situation. Let's go into settings. I'm going to quickly show you stuff there. As you see, the graphic quality is on the max. I have no problems running it at 60 FPS. You can actually run higher if you turn off the VSync, but if you do so, you're gonna have problems because enemy animations are gonna start acting very weird. So I do suggest not to turn off, keep it to 60 FPS or maybe even lower might be something actually better, because I still had a few times situations where the enemies were kind of like looked like they were skiing, but at 60 it was, you know, more or less was pretty good. No, not too many issues I would call. So there are no mods for this game. There are a few ways you can modify some files there to change the way the enemy waves come at you, but that's all you got. And let's go into more closer to the game. You can see I completed the whole campaign on War Mage difficulty, and also did the same thing for Lost Adventures. I didn't complete the last one of the 5 skulls because I decided not to do so. I decided not to torture myself all the way through it. It's also possible, and I did it back in the day at some point. I also played the whole campaign on Nightmare mode too, so that's also possible. Well, let's go into the game and I'll show you what the game is about. Game is like I said, it's a simple tower defense game, but it has a interesting message in it, which I'll talk a bit later. There we go straight into the game. It will give us this a bit of a lore, and before that you saw a screen that actually telling me what is it that I need to know about to play the game. That's how the game will teach you all the things that there are. The game also has the manual to it, but the manual is mostly just basically telling you the lore of the game, but then you're gonna get told most of the lore anyway throughout the game as well, so it's not really necessary to go into the manual. Now we're just gonna go ahead here and select some of the items that are the spells we want and the traps we want to use. That's how the game starts off. Now later on you're gonna have a bit I have quite a lot of variety. When you're gonna start off, you can only have a War Mage difficulty available to you, so you're gonna have very few variety available here. You get more variety thanks to the DLC which I have installed, which adds more traps, more weapons, and it also adds those levels, the Lost Adventures campaign. The Lost Adventure campaign has no narrative in it, it's just a few more, it's more additional levels, that's all there is to it. Okay, so we selected this. Let's see what else I can select that I can use against the orcs. And I think I'm gonna use a bit of this and a few of these guys, that, and maybe this guys. Okay, good. So that's that's the situation here. I like again in the lower difficulty here, the game throws me right into the melee, so you don't have much time to kind of prepare and decide like what is it that you want to have. There we go, we're gonna put a spell here. So, and that's pretty much most of the game. You shoot at the orcs, try to kill them, you set up traps right there, and you also have this kind of soldiers that help you out to do so as well. There we go, that's gonna kill him off a few more than faster, and we keep on going. Again, in the lower difficulties, every 3 waves you're gonna have a respite. Here you don't get that kind of a situation. You are stuck with the constant waves. At the higher difficulty, at Nightmare, but Nightmare is only available once you finish War Mage difficulty. The graphics wise, you can see the game is pretty clear, it's straightforward. It's very cartoonish, so it's not gonna age that badly thanks to that. And you can you see exactly what you have here. The enemies are pretty clear, who they were with, what, you don't really need to wonder that much or when it comes to the enemies. Again, it's pretty straightforward. You see the targets, you can attack them. So I would say there's not much more to show of this game besides what I'm already showing you right now. Now, like I said, the levels will get bigger. This is a very small level. There will be bigger levels eventually, and we end up dealing with a variety of enemies as well. So, what's my opinion of the game? Well, I think this is actually a great game. why is it a great game? Well, from the outset, it looks like it's a simple, you know, goofy game about, well, you killing orcs, right? There's not much here to say that it's somehow deep or anything in that way. No, it's not. There we go. Right? And that's true. It doesn't look that deep, and but there's a message which is developed throughout the game as you kind of progress through it. It's not very apparent until the very end that, and then you realize that, oh wait, the game was actually progressing towards this for the whole time. So what's the message? Well, this game is about growing up, about getting more mature. I think that's what it's talking about. So your character here acts extremely childish throughout the whole game. Right? He constantly jokes around. He compliments himself. He kind of finds his job very entertaining, which is like the whole game itself is extremely well entertaining. There, we finished the game. Here it is. We got 5 skulls victory right now. I can tell that by the way he dances, and there's also that thing up top. So overall, looks very childish, very cartoonish, all that stuff. But as you progress, the character might still say the same stuff. He also has the sections where he begins to speak about his own thoughts, about his monologue, and the internal monologue that he's having about the situation. And that's when you begin to realize that, well, maybe there's a bit more to this, something there's in the game. Like I said, in the very end, the character makes a decision. Now, before I talk about that a bit, here's a situation. You earn skulls to upgrade your troops, or your weapons, or your NPCs that you can hire. So just so that you know what's the skulls for. Okay, so we're gonna go back to campaign menu here. And so the character makes a decision at the very end of the game. And it is a very mature decision. So the character progresses to that maturity. Now, of course, the game leaves it to interpretation whether this is a mature decision or not. You know, that's my interpretation, that was a mature decision. Maybe you will find it that it's not. It's up to you. And at the same time, the game also explains the gravity of the decision. So to me, that's what also kind of solidifies that this was a mature decision to make. Is this game a cool game? Yes, I think it's a Sub-Zero cool game. Due to all sorts of very cool ways that you can find to kill orcs and other enemies. You can build up a whole bunch of traps that will complement each other. You can use spells that will complement each other, or traps and spells combinations. All that's available to you. And they're not necessarily all that combinations that you will be doing are not necessarily useful, but they're very fun to utilize. So from that perspective, I think this is a great game, and it's a Sub-Zero cool game. Well, thank you for watching and for listening.